The Gridiron is sponsored by Anna Marie's. If it ain't Anna Marie's, it ain't breakfast.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. Springford football season ended this past Friday night with a 21-14 defeat to Downingtown East in the District 1 6A playoffs. Coach, obviously you never want to, season the end, that sort of thing, but I think we want to talk about the game a little bit. We talked a lot last week about the start of the game and really tell a sign of the game, and obviously not the start you guys were looking for. You're down 21 and a little over a quarter, but to you, the kids, everybody, there was no quitting the team. Like, it could have been easily, let's go the other way, let's end the night, let's get out of Dodge. But boy, you guys made a fight of it all the way to the last, within the last minute of the game too.
Well, we've kind of talked about this on this program a little bit in terms of getting prepared for playoffs, and just, if you look at the trend, and again, us losing to Pottsgrove kind of puts a little bit of a hole in my argument. But on the other hand, it's just when you go to the playoffs and you haven't played, that's why us and PV especially really try to front load our schedules, because we're just trying to make sure that we have played opponents that are playoff caliber opponents. And we did do that. But then there's a little bit of a gap, and unfortunately this year we played PV week 5, and so Rob and I talked actually this weekend. There's same thing, kind of the trend would seem over the past few years that we get down early and then our kids are like, oh, okay, this is the level that we have to play to. And to their credit, they came back, like you said, and played really well. In fact, I don't think Downingtown made it into the red zone in the second half, or the latter part of the second quarter, from the second quarter on. So, and unfortunately, offensively, we were running all over the field, but had 4 red zone trips that came away with nothing. And, it's tough. Give Downingtown East credit. When you get into the red zone, they go straight man, and they try to get to the quarterback before you can get rid of it or before a receiver comes open. And so, we just came away. We also shot ourselves in the foot a couple times with penalties inside the red zone. So, you can easily see how the game could have been different. But was really proud of our kids and our coaching staff for, the way that they performed on Friday. Again, you're 100% right. There was absolutely no quit. And once we scored that first touchdown and got the first stop, then kids were like, okay, they kind of figured it out a little bit. But it took us a while. It took us a little over a quarter to figure that out, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah.
We were moving the ball offensively, but, again, 11 penalties, too many, and had a couple. Actually, we fumbled 4 times in the game. We lost 2 of them. So too many of those things. I do these studies at the end of the year, and if you look at the playoff games that we've lost, the biggest 100%, without a doubt, stat is turnovers.
Yeah.
And playoff games, those things become really amplified.
So you talked about a little bit there, like could have been, that sort of thing. I feel like it could have been a whole season of what could have been.
Absolutely.
You finished the season 6-5. It could have, this could have been, where you're talking an 9-win team, that sort of thing here.
Yeah.
So. Obviously, you're reflecting on the season a little bit here now. We're half a week passes, that sort of thing, and I'm sure there has to be some reflection of you and be like, well, what could I have done? What could we have done to turn this season, from what it was 6-5? And like you said, great kids, great senior class, all that sort of thing. A team that fought till the end versus a team you're like, wow, this could be, like a team that's, contending for a district title too.
Yeah, especially in this field, because we really feel that there's some teams that are maybe shoulders above some other teams, but also beatable, but no one's head and shoulders above anybody else. And so you're right. we've lost this year. We lost 2 games when our defense was on the field in the final minute, and we lost Friday night when our offense was on the field in the final minute inside the 5-yard line. And so, we practice situational football all the time. Don't often practice like the final plays.
Okay.
The final 2 or 3 plays
Sure.
in the game. And maybe that's something we'll take a look at. We don't necessarily practice a lot of 2-minute offense in practice, and it's because we already are kind of doing that. We know the situations, in the final few seconds of the first half, last half, second half, and but those final 2 or 3 plays, when the clock's running, you're out of timeouts. Those things are tough.
Yeah, so you're just leading right to the path that we're going to go down here with a question, which I'm sure everybody's tuning in that they want to talk. So you're down 21-14. You try the onside kick. You don't get it. You block the punt. Now you get the ball. No timeouts now from like the 40-ish, I want to say, right?
Somewhere in that range. Probably a little closer, actually.
So let's set the stage here now. You get a first down inside the 10. Clock stops. Move the chains, that sort of thing. So the last 4 plays of the game, I'm sure everybody says, well, why are we spiking it 2 of the last 4 plays of the game? So
yeah,
put us down. So you've got that first down. You're first and goal. They're moving the chains. Go through those 4 plays because I'm sure everybody that's watching wants to hear what you're thinking. And what you said, it's tough to be a cool, calm, and collected person in a situation where, so go ahead. Just give us the rundown.
The first thing is we practice onside kicks every Thursday, and we practice hands team every Thursday. We do both. And our kicker was kicking onside kicks that we were struggling to recover. That's how good they were.
Okay.
And so we'll start there. So that was a decision. There was like 5.5 left, maybe somewhere in that range, almost 6. And we decided to do it because we thought, well, whether they get the ball on the previous kickoffs, they had gotten the ball back to like the 30, 35. Mm-hmm. Anyway, if we're onside kicking, all right, we're not that worse off.
15, 20 yards, sure.
Yeah, and the way he was kicking, in practice the day prior, we were like, we got a good shot. And actually, he did have a pretty good onside kick. It just bounced straight up in the air. If it had come down a yard earlier, it would have been.
Had a chance.
It would have been on. So
you say whatever.
So okay.
And I'm sure, like you talked to, it's not just you. It's everybody's on board with what's going on.
Oh yeah,
right?
we were all yeah. I talked to the
yeah.
defensive staff like, hey, what do you think? So we were all good with that. So we did stop them then. They called for a passing play to ice the game, and we got a sack, and only had 1 timeout. Had to burn 1 on the previous drive.
Yeah.
And also burned 1 defensively earlier in the half. So we get the first pass to Zach Zollers and get it down inside. I want to say that
you're out of time. No timeouts. We're out of timeouts, right?
No timeouts.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going. Yep. Big play to Zollers. He makes a big tough catch and travel.
Yeah. Makes a tough catch, and so we're gonna spike that right away and have time to think and get the play that we want. We ran a play. There were 4 guys in the end zone. He had to get rid of it. The guy that was not in the end zone was Harry, who was out in the flat. 2 guys came off of their defenders and made the play on Harry on about the 4.
Yep.
So here's where and again, you question yourself all weekend, but I think we were down about 23 seconds, somewhere in that range. Some coaches in the headsets are yelling, spike the ball. Other coaches in the headsets are yelling, and yelling is part of the issue there. We gotta are saying then we'll only get 1 shot. It'll be 4th down, and all I'm hearing is 4th down, 4th down, 4th down. In those types of situations, you're not necessarily hearing everything that's going on. So I just keep hearing 4th down. So I'm nervous. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, did I calculate the down and distance wrong? Is this 4th down or it wasn't? But we decided to spike it, and in hindsight, it would have been nice to run a play there and then come back if it's, obviously have to throw to the end zone.
And you can't run the ball in that third down situation too, because
you cannot.
There's no chance.
You cannot.
Right.
No. So, we knew they were going to be manned. Like the tough part there is, clocking the ball. Tough part is there. If we try to take a shot at the end zone and there's a sack, we're also in big trouble.
Game's over, yeah.
There's a lot of different ways that it could play out. We wanted, in my thought process right in that second, we wanted the 25 seconds to get the best play in that we could, rather than, scrambling a little bit. Make a bad throw, it's an interception. There's a million different ways that you can skin that cat. Would have liked to have that play back, because then on fourth down you can run the ball if you want to, because it's do or die.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was at the time, like, I'll give you some more insight. When we scored at around 6 minutes, I talked to the offensive staff on the phone, hey, start looking down the list, give me your best 2-point plays, because we're going for 2. If we score. If we get the ball back and score, we're going for 2. And the reason for that was, trying to stop them from the 10-yard line going in would be a monumental task
on
for
the
our
road.
defense.
Yeah, I actually like that idea right
Especially after, the way they've run the ball.
They're going to be really good on a 10-yard field. They're going to win.
It's a rule that should be a little bit adjusted in high school.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the 25 like college, but maybe the 15, force someone to get at least a first down. Make a decision on fourth down. Do we try to go for it on 4th and 3 or kick the field goal? So anyway, that was our plan. One of our 2-point plays that we were going over in our head, and maybe we could have called it on fourth down, was quarterback draw. When we came out empty on that play, they had 5 in the box, which we expected. The one guy was kind of edging out of the box because of Zach, who we were, obviously they were going to try to double cover him. So, yeah, a lot of different things going through your head at that moment in time, and trying to keep the kids, level and grounded. Ryan made a great play under pressure, put it where only our guy could get it. He got one hand on it, but couldn't pull it in.
So it's funny you say about the QB draw, because in talking, with kids in school, about the game, that sort of thing, I've always said you're the guy that when everybody in the field thinks you're going to
that's why we were going to do it on.
You run it, that sort of thing. I actually was like, I'm surprised you didn't run QB draw. You know what I mean? Now, with that being said, as a play caller, you on your sheet or whatever, there has to be a list there, like what you love inside from the 5. Like what's your goat, right? Throughout the course of a season, you have to be like, what do I love here? What are we really good at? Like, once again, I know you're asking for input, but there's also, as the guy, you have to be like,
well, I want guys to give me a list, and then I can pick from, like, what's your preference?
Like the most?
What's your preference?
Yeah,
what's your preference? The other thing about that too is normally, if it's just inside the 5-yard line in a normal situation, in the middle of the second quarter or whatever, you can call whatever it's fourth down, you're probably going to kick a field goal.
Right.
So there's, you have your list of plays in 4th and short or whatever, 3rd and short, and that's what you come up with. But.
So it really sounds like if you had to do it all over again, not that you didn't like the play you called for 4th, but maybe QB draw was the play.
Well, that was the 2-point play.
Think if you would have scored 2 points, draw was going to be
that was going to be the 2-point play, because we knew again that probably Zach was going to see some extra coverage. They have to honor the other guys. We know they're going to go man. We know they're going to blitz off the edge, and we were just going to try to run right up the middle where. If he can get under those guys coming off the edge, we're technically 5-on-3.
Right,
and
like you said, probably they're not expecting Freed to be your QB draw
correct.
guy too, right? Almost like that one time I remember whatever game, the fact that you ran like QB bootleg for a touchdown or whatever, and nobody thinks
naked,
no, whatever,
I didn't even tell our guys.
Whatever it is, you're not. But nobody in the field's thinking that that's where the ball's going to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can skin it 100 different ways. Like, quite honestly, I woke up in the middle of the night, after having this dream, like quarterback draw, we win.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's good. It's tough. The quarterback draw, the drawback is you're putting all your eggs in one basket.
There's nowhere else to go.
There's nowhere else to go. Where if you throw and something happens, maybe he scrambles, maybe throws, you have different
pass
options.
interference,
yeah, all that stuff. And so, the quarterback draw, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. So it's a conundrum.
Yeah, I feel once again here, we've had a lot of this, like what if,
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, I think it needs to be some sort of reflection between, all right, well, what am I going to do next year to avoid these types of conversations on this, or just whatever? Who cares about having conversations here on the show? But you obviously want results. You know what I mean? Like
we'll talk. That's always on our list in the off season, and we lost 5 games. Do you know what the point spread was on those 5 games?
7-1.
Total,
I'm doing the math in my head. I'm going to say less than 24.
No, 31.
Okay.
31.
Pretty close.
That's 5 points a game. So
you doing math now?
Yeah. So
actually, it's
5
6.
Point something or 6 point something.
There you
right.
go. Come on, be better at math.
If we, so that's less than a touchdown per game. Now the one was 2.
Yeah.
Manheim Township, but. Can you find 5 drives where we could have scored touchdowns this year in those games? And the answer is obviously yes. So one of the things that we struggle with running the ball in the red zone a little bit here and there, and that's where that is made up. So, we're going to certainly take a look at that in the offseason and go from there.
All right, Coach, good stuff right there. Let's check out the offensive highlights from Springford, Downingtown East.
Defensive highlights are sponsored by What's Hot Cards and Collectibles.
Had 20 plays over 10 yards during this game, 20 different plays. So this is the first touchdown. This is Peyton West, all right, does a nice job cutting back there in behind Colton Kashira, and that was our first score. You can see it here from the end zone. We had some still leftover rain issues from some of these devices, but just
safety kind of over pursues it a little bit there.
Yeah. This was a nice play. We kind of put in the middle of the week or earlier in the week where we were pulling, we didn't know if we'd get a lot of being able to pull from that defensive end, but we did. And we knew if we were able to, we'd put these guys on an island 3-on-2 and got down inside the 30 again there. This is a run late in the game. I think we ended up fumbling on this drive, but Harry gets down again inside the 30-yard line on a counter tray. You'll see the left guard and left tackle pull, and then the defensive end, or their outside linebacker actually, he comes down inside. We don't get a great kick, but we're able to bounce it around him, so got down the sideline on that. Here we go, another one. This is a great job. Nice little spin move by Zollers. And again, taking it down inside the 30-yard line. We were just trying to find holes in there. We knew there were going to be holes in the secondary, because of the way they played and how, they play off a lot. This was, again, down inside the 30. Now, we did score on this drive, but down inside the 20, almost scored on this play, steps out right at the last second there.
And you have the one-on-one on the outside. You might as well go attack it.
Yep. And, he puts it out there where really,
your guy's only catching it.
Yep. And we were trying to pick on that kid a little bit. We had seen him on film, so when we had if we see that kid on anybody, take it. Here's a nice play. This was in the first drive. We started about 3 or 4 drives inside our own 10-yard line too.
You stopped them on like a goal line stance to start the game and get out of here.
Yeah, goal line stand, and then also a couple punts rolled down inside. So we had long fields most of the night. Here's another one, long field. But again, Zach Zollers goes up and makes a nice catch. Wish he had a little bit more room on the sideline there because, it's him and the safety.
And this is where you're kind of using him as like a hybrid guy. Like you get him in the right matchup, you like him, you can put his hand in the ground, play a little tight end for. Ooh.
Yeah, that's the tip pass.
That had potential here for the bad ways here, but you make the play.
but the kid just tipped it, and Zach just had an awesome night, as did Ryan Freed.
Yeah, Ryan had a big
a lot
night
of guys. 3 senior receivers had around over 100 or around 100. Colton Kashira had like 96, and Peyton West had over 100. Zollers had 9 catches for like 140. Ryan threw for 370 yards, something in that range. So, and the offensive line did a pretty good job overall. There were some times where, they blitzed from all different angles and all different ways. And there were a couple times where, the first drive we gave up a sack fumble, and, they went down and scored. But for the most part, our quarterback stood in there, did a really, really nice job. Showed a lot of toughness.
All right, Coach. Good stuff right there. We're going to do one more segment. No, only one more segment though this week, all right?
Yeah.
All right. Make sure you stay tuned through the commercial break, and we'll be back with the defensive highlights and a season recap.
Thank you, Dr. Collier, for the help yesterday after school.
Have you experienced great customer service from a Springford employee? Want to send a special thanks out to the stranger who paid for your morning coffee?
Don't worry about it today. Somebody paid it forward.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Many thanks is unsolicited acknowledgement of anyone in the Springford community who simply deserves recognition.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in. That was so good. Anna Marie's always so nice.
That was delicious. Visit the Springford webpage to submit your many thanks.
Welcome back to the Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. Hey, how about that commercial right there? Love for somebody to buy us breakfast and say thanks for all the entertainment we provide here on the television, right? It's nonstop entertainment here, right?
It is nonstop.
All right.
I don't know if it's entertainment. I know it's nonstop. Whatever it is.
It's got to be entertaining at least. Why would we have thousands and thousands of views if it wasn't entertaining for all those people? All right, so before we do season recap, that sort of thing, boy, you talked about the defense, all year long, and defense got kind of shell-shocked to start the game. We said give up 21 and, a little over a quarter, but they hunkered in. They found a way to get done. They found a little, a recipe for success, and they kind of translated it to, almost 3/4 of shutout football for them.
Yeah, we knew that they were going to they do something that's completely unique and we don't see, which is basically as fast as they can go, but power football. And they do it really well. It's really interesting. But again, coming out of the gate, it's really, really there's I guess you want to say a learning
You can't
curve
simulate
there.
it. There's no way you can simulate what they're going to do.
We tried in practice, yeah.
Right.
We tried in practice, but it's certainly not the same thing. And, our guys were on skates at the beginning, trying to figure this out. And Downingtown East is really big up front. We are not. But our kids started to, figure out what was going on and make adjustments. Not in terms of what we were trying to do defensively, but kind of more all right, this kid came down on me and rolled me the last time. I'm going to cut underneath him, and we're quicker. We're quicker than a lot of teams on defense, or than other teams are. So, we
And it gives you no
stopped
time.
them I want to say 4 times on 4th down, 3 or
Right.
4 times on 4th down.
And you had a goal line stance
We had
in there early in the game too.
Yeah, a couple sacks.
I guess I want to talk about the speed of them, and it essentially gives your defensive staff no time for adjustments, even for calling in plays. It almost, I'm going to guess, it eventually came to a point of it doesn't matter what we call, we just got to go play football. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what we call. Go here, go make a play, essentially too, when they're going so fast.
To some degree. But we had tendencies on what they want to do on certain downs, those. We knew by number who's in the backfield, some of the tendencies. We knew by down and distance some tendencies. But certainly, it's not hard to figure out they're going to try to run the ball down our throat. And I think that, we knew they were going to come in and do that. It's not really anything that we see in our league. Really, there's not very many teams anywhere that does that kind of thing. And, credit to those guys. At halftime, we had just scored before the half. It was 21-7. And, at halftime, we just talked about, listen, if at the end of this game, when the clock's 0 and you need help off the field, we'll help you off the field. Leave it all out there. Mm-hmm. And, to everyone's credit, they did to a man. There's guys in the locker room after the game bleeding, crying,
Yeah.
exhausted, absolutely exhausted. But they kept going out there. And again, that was the other reason, by the way, we were going to try to go for 2.
Yeah, just you run out of
Yeah.
juice. So let's talk before we do the highlights. Let's talk about the block punt. So I guess what I'm saying is like Downingtown East had to have known like you're coming for a block. You know what I mean? Like how what did you see in the study that like once again if I'm like we're max protecting, we're punting it as quick as we can. You know what I'm saying? So talk about the block punt, which gave you guys a chance to.
Well, we went into the game thinking we're going to get one.
Okay.
Because of their scheme and how we were going to attack it. And we were pretty close early in the game. Their long snapper is very good. And we were real close on, I want to say, 2 other ones. But they didn't really do anything differently except the snap was a little low.
Okay.
And so I thought his knee might have been down. That was the first reaction I had on the sideline. And then, he picked it up. And Will Fish is becoming very good at blocking kicks. And then the tough part again, because you do the what if. Well, the ball came off at an angle towards our sideline and went like 20 yards. If that ball does anything else, we scoop and score it. There were 7 guys around it and no one from their team. So, if that ball does anything else, it's a tie game, or
Down
we
one.
lose one or up one after
gotcha.
the.
Yeah, I wonder what that would have been different if you would have scooped and scored. Now there's
was
all
like
that time in the class. You think you were 2 no matter what.
Yeah,
You know
we're
what I'm saying?
two
If
no-
you
we were
scooped
2 no matter what.
Okay,
we were
gotcha.
2 no matter what. We did not want to go into overtime. We were 2 no matter what. So it would have come down to like there was like a minute-ish left, and I want to say, we would have probably kicked it deep and then tried to hold them, force them to pass, and
Yeah.
and
I guess I'm saying if I guess I'm Downingtown East coaching staff this week, it'd be like, what are we doing? Like if you're watching them play, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like
with the punt.
yes, you know what I'm saying? Like that has to be, as you're moving forth in playoff, those type of things are going to be
Sure.
It's huge for them. That sort of thing. That's stuff you got to clean up.
I mean, also it was not the best snap of the evening.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's
yeah, got to be. That's your job, right? Long snapper.
It's a
right?
tough. I wouldn't want to have that job.
Okay. Listen, sorry, Downingtown East. I'm just make sure you guys got to clean up for Quakertown this week. All right, let's check out the defensive highlights from Springford Downingtown East.
Offensive highlights are sponsored by What's Hot? Cards and Collectibles.
All right, so this was near the end of the game. Zach Zollers gets a sack on 2nd and 9 here. I think they thought they were gonna, sneak one in. We had
got
good
it covered
coverage
real-
as
yeah.
well. This was another one by Zach. I mean, Zach played an unbelievable game. Both sides of the football. He had a couple sacks. He had 9 receptions. He just was everywhere.
Here, full blitz here.
Nice job by Gavin Schaefer there to get a tackle for a loss. Came off, actually fought off 2 blocks and still made that play. Gavin's 5'11", 185 pounds going against, 6'5" tight end and tackle and just making plays.
This is your stop down at the goal line here. They try and throw it.
Yeah, Carson Bogdan did a great job there, preventing that catch. And then this was Marquise Cruz. Marquise Cruz didn't come out as a junior. Came back out and just stuck with it. We had some injuries. He came in and he just made an unbelievable play here, man coverage. I mean, Marquise Cruz did a tremendous
Here's
job.
the block.
And of course, here's the block. Now, there's people standing up all over the place. But the ball right there, I mean, we had 6 dudes around it.
You're right. Not the greatest snap.
But watch
it's just slow,
watch where the ball goes. I mean,
I see where the ball
if
goes,
the ball
yeah.
goes straight,
If
the ball goes straight, it just took I mean, we wanted to block the punt, but it took an angle out of bounds, and we would have been able to pick that up and score if it had taken any less of an angle, a more obtuse angle.
Ooh, look at you! Now you're back to doing math. Now you're back to doing.
Is that right?
I
think it is.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm going to say you're right there. All right, so we usually take a break here. We'll do the last segment, but obviously, we're at the end of the road here. another season in the books. Your general thoughts, like once again, out as walking up here, I was like, boy, season of what if, could have, that sort of
Sure.
thing. Like your general impression on the season.
Well, I think that's always going to be there when, again, we lost 5 games by a total of 31 points. Like, when you lose games like that, you can point to a couple plays here and there that, really change the complexion of a game. And but I think, after Friday's game, the previous Friday was not a good one. It was not a good weekend. But after last Friday, there's nothing else that you could have asked from anybody in our program. We were overmatched up front on both sides of the ball. We knew they were going to get after us on both sides, and our guys stepped up to that. And they play, like I said, I mentioned Gavin Schaefer, he's going against a 6'5", 230-pound tight end. It's a tough thing to ask.
Tough sledding.
Tough thing to ask a 185-pound kid to do to, hold up. And same thing across the board. But our kids did. And, I'd like to think that even though this year the record was not what we, would have liked, I think we got a lot out of, this season. I think, earlier in the year, and not making any excuses, but we had a lot of injuries that, we were running on fumes in some of those games. And still, again, fought to the end in all of them. And so, it would have been nice to have everybody the full year. We lost Evan Szymanski, we lost Donnie Nicoline for a while. Those were big losses, and that affected the offensive line as well. But our kids play hard, and I think they have fun, which is really important as well. It's not what we would have liked record-wise, but I tell you what, there were a lot of tears in the locker room after, and I don't think there were very many regrets.
Yeah.
So, that's something you can hang your hat on. And even before we left the locker room, underclassmen were talking about next year. So, and seniors were talking to them about next year. And, that is an awesome thing to see when you talk about senior leadership and you talk about, I guess the paint's not dry on the scoreboard, all right? The lights are still on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
That's probably a better analogy.
Right.
But and kids are already talking about, next year and what their goals are. And so that's nice to see.
Before, I know we have a graphic here with some stats for the end of the year, but same non-league. I know you're big. We talked about non-league in the beginning. Same non-league for next year, or still in work?
No.
Still working.
No, the schedule's pretty much set. So we will open up with Governor Mifflin next year, who's a 5A Berks County team, who has a chance to win a state title this year. Then weeks 2, 3, and 4 are the same.
Back to Cumberland Valley. We'll host.
Well, we will. First we'll go to Chambersburg, Cumberland Valley here, Manheim Township away.
There,
So
okay.
Governor Mifflin will be here.
Week 1? Who do we have this year? Man, we have
Westchester East.
That's it. All right. See, it's been so
So
long.
as far
It's
as the
so many
pack,
weeks ago.
as far as the pack
Are we still
schedule,
going to open with Pat or PV?
Mr.
on week-
McDaniel has that information. Probably I don't know that has changed.
All right. I think we got a graphic here. Let's check out the graphic. So look, here's some things that you got on the year here. Just hit a couple of things you want to talk about that's on this list here.
Well, I think, one of the things I think is important to talk about is Ryan Freed. And I said in the paper, and it wasn't the full quote, but I said, Ryan's 5'0", 100 and something. He's not.
They gave
very
him the
big.
Rudy quote. The Rudy quote.
Did I?
He's like 100,
Well,
5'0", 100 and nothing.
I wasn't
like-
trying to reference
I
Rudy,
know.
but
it's yeah.
the
go
bottom line with it is, I think if, people would have seen Ryan as a freshman or sophomore, and then they see this, they would be relatively surprised at his career. And I just messaged him. I haven't seen him yet. We'll see him today, but just how tough he was. And he's certainly not afraid of any situations. And he just played off the charts and ends his career, with the highest quarterback rating in Springford history. And he also not for a season, but for a career.
Yeah.
And, he threw for almost 2,500 yards and just had a tremendous year. Harry didn't quite reach his goal of 1,000 yards, but he definitely had a tremendous career, finishing 13th in career rushing yards. And that's quite a list at Spring Ford. To make it to 13 is impressive. And then Colton Kashira, talking about seniors. Colton Kashira, played. He was on the field last year, but what a year he had. 46 receptions, I think 600 and some yards. Just a tremendous deal there. And Cole Turner, Donnie Nickley, and Ryan Horvath, all those guys, the senior guys, just had a tremendous year and gave everything that they had to Springford football, and we'll always appreciate that.
I see, I'm looking at it there, the career, Horvath gets over to 100 tackles. That seems like a pretty, a milestone to get for high school athletics. It seems like a pretty big number there. And we talked about it, Cole Turner tied that interceptions early in the year with 4.
Right.
And there's just some of the, things that I noticed there looking at the.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, one of the things quickly before we wrap it up is, Donnie Nickeline is someone who kind of sums up this season. Because what could have been. I mean, Donnie Nickeline missed most of last year. He started as a sophomore, missed most of last year, missed most of this year, still finishes 8th in career hurries. All right, he also finished 10th in career tackles for loss, which, by the way, doesn't go back all the way through Springford history because they didn't keep that stat. But with the stats that we've kept, I mean, he missed 8+ games this year. He missed 6 last year. And still ends up there. So it's kind of one of those things, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Maybe it kind of stands as a symbol.
Yeah, like I said, that seems to be our phrase of this season with the woulda, coulda, shoulda, that sort of thing. Here, so. All right, Coach. Well, another season here in the books, the Gridiron. I guess we'll be back for next season next year. Big contract negotiations going on right here between now and next season, right?
I'm maybe with you.
Big. Well, we're always it's a contract. It's a duo. I feel like with
Well,
so we'll see what's in the boat.
I feel like you get better pay than I do.
We'll see about that sort of thing. That sometimes they say they bring the talent in, that sort of thing, but they want to hear your questions. I feel though in me, my journalism questions got a little. I wasn't so vanilla this year. I feel like I was. Maybe harder hitting than some of the local journalists.
Yeah,
that sort
you
of
held
thing.
you held me to the fire.
Yeah, that's my big job once again here.
Yeah.
All my background in journalism and broadcasting are now coming to fruition here on this season of the Gridiron.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, I enjoyed every second of it this year.
Me
Can't wait to do
too.
it again next year.
Thanks.
All right, thanks again for tuning in this season of the Gridiron. For the head coach Chad Brubaker, I'm John Brennan. See you next season on the Gridiron.